Welcome to Side Hustle Rules. The title to this video is Naive Retailer Flops, what you can learn from his horrible mistakes. And what I'm going to be sharing with you is from a video I watched from this person I'm saying is the naive retailer. He posted a video on YouTube. He dumped all these problems that he really helped to create, and he dumped them on his viewers. And this was such an incredibly interesting video, and one that I think is a great learning experience, that I decided that I'm going to go ahead and just kind of give you, I'm going to give you an outline of what happened, mistakes that were made, things that could have been avoided. Again, I think it's a great learning experience for anybody out there who's looking at getting into retail, or really maybe even if you're just looking to get into business at all. Come on! Welcome back to Side Hustle Rules. My name is Lou Reyes, and as I said before the break, the title of this video is Naive Retailer Flops, what you can learn from his horrible mistakes. And yes, again, I will say, I think this is a great opportunity to learn about what not to do in business, but also to learn what you should do, what you can do, what you can easily do when you're launching a new business, you're opening up a new retail location, and you want to go ahead, you want to go full bore to that business. Well, there are some things you want to be careful about before you decide to go ahead and do that. But listen, before I get into to this story here, to this video, what I wanted to ask you to do is two things. Number one, subscribe to Side Hustle Rules. Number two, if you are interested in starting a side hustle, I do have a free side hustle starter kit. You can get that kit by just clicking on the link in the description box. So before I get too deep into this video, let me just say this. I'm not going to mention the name of this retailer, this naive retailer. I'm not going to mention his name whatsoever. I'm not even going to describe or rather steer you to his YouTube channel, because I don't want to throw any shade or throw much shade at all on this person. He made some mistakes. We're all going to make some mistakes. I just happen to think he got into an industry that he didn't understand and just dove into it. And the result is he's got to close his business and lose a lot of money. What happened is this. He decided he's going to open up a health food store, this gentleman. He sees this giant store, this grocery store, and it's in a great location. And he figured that if he opened up next to that store, he'd be able to get some of that spillover, some of their business. And he also thought, and he says, and I think this is rather naive on his end, he thought, well, I'll also contribute to them. I'll help them increase their sales. So he decides he's going to go ahead and open up next to this store. This store was in a parking lot, and in that parking lot was an office building. The owner of the office building, the owner owned the parking lot, he owned the office building, and I think he also owned the building where the grocery store was in. It doesn't matter, because what really happened here was there was 30 years ago, there was a restriction in a lease, and the lease applied to that office building. And the grocery store 30 years ago said, hey, no competitor is allowed or can be allowed to open up in that office space. They can't open up a competing business. That was what the smart retail grocery store chain did 30 years ago. So here along comes this guy. He's driving along in his car. He sees this space. He decides he's going to open up a health food store. He goes to the office space, talks to the owner of the building. The owner of the building and him agree. So he goes ahead and he just plows ahead, and he decides he's going to go ahead and open up a space there. But in the meantime, he did something else too, which I found very interesting. He went over to the grocery store. He spoke to the grocery store manager, the manager, not the owner of the grocery store, which, by the way, according to this gentleman, this grocery store is part of a 200-store, multi-billion-dollar chain, and I think he said multi-billion-dollar chain. He goes over to the manager, says, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up a store, health food store, and I think it's going to benefit both of us. And he says the manager was all in agreement. The manager basically gave his blessing and was happy to have him there. So long, here we go. He pours tons of money into this building. The Naïve retailer, he pours tons of money into this building. He guts the whole the office space. He guts it and puts in coolers, puts in a drainage system for the coolers, puts in all kinds of shelves, all kinds of fixtures, pours money, and it must have been tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And he opens up this store, and lo and behold, a couple months go by, or I'm sorry, a couple weeks go by, I believe is what it was. And the owner of the building that he's rented, his landlord comes in and says, hey, I think we've got a problem. There's the restriction, a covenant in the lease that says a competitor cannot open up in this location, in my building, in my retail, my office building. Well, the Naïve, and I hate to keep calling him Naïve, but I don't know what else to say. The Naïve retailer is shocked. He's appalled because he's not a competitor. He doesn't consider himself a competitor, which was really his first mistake. And this is, I think, a great lesson for all of us out there. It's a lesson I learned a long, long time ago. I actually was involved in the grocery retail business for a short time. I got to really know that business fairly well. Well, his mistake was, being naive was he didn't understand that grocery stores consider that industry, you're a competitor no matter what size you are. If you're taking some business away from them with their small, thin margins, you're a competitor. And that's number one, is he didn't consider them a competitor. And quite frankly, he didn't know the industry. He should never have gotten into it. A health food store, I don't care how small it is, how large it is. It's a zero-sum game in that business, in the grocery store business. Zero sum, winner take all. So the landlord, I guess, talks to the grocery store. They say, no, we want him out. So this gets haggled back and forth, apparently for like 4 years. So for 4 years, this is going back and forth. And finally, the Naïve store owner, retailer decides, his attorneys advised him to leave. And now he's got to leave. And when he was dumping on YouTube, he says, I'm a small business. I'm not impacting on their business. Well, again, he didn't understand that business. But here's the other thing. If you're going to open up a business, next to a competitor, my recommendation is, and this is something that I think it needs to be should be examined by you if you're deciding that you're going to go ahead and do that. I'd examine the whole area. I would make sure that I really understood the landscape. And I don't mean geographically, I mean the industry. But I'd also do this. If I'm opening up in a building, I'm going to be checking with that landlord. I'm getting something in writing. That says, it is okay. It's okay to open up here, not just signing on that bottom line, but I'm going to be getting some kind of an agreement there. And I'm going to be looking at that lease carefully. But, maybe the covenant wasn't in that lease, and I'm assuming it wasn't, because how else, why would he sign it if he saw that covenant, if he read the lease? So I'm thinking that that's probably something that wasn't in that. But I would still have an agreement, something in writing with that landlord that says, knowing the whole story, or not knowing any part of the story, I'd still have something in writing that says I can open up in this location and there are no restrictions. And it's just something I think is kind of standard practice, but apparently again, he was naive. He didn't understand. He didn't know to watch out for this kind of stuff. And I think that was obviously it was a huge mistake. So I just wanted to share this with you. This Naïve retailer flopped, and he flopped because, number one, he didn't do his research. Number two, he didn't protect himself. Again, I would have gotten something in writing. I would have got something in writing knowing that there's a location there, there's a parking lot there, and that he's going to be getting into a building that's right next to it. Now, maybe I could give him the benefit of the doubt and say, you know what, okay, maybe you just didn't think you needed to get something in writing, but I'm always protecting myself. And if I'm working with a client, I'm protecting them. So, again, don't want to ramble. Made a mistake. These are lessons that can be learned, but protect yourself at all costs. And that's really the big lesson here. Don't go into something that you don't understand. Don't invest thousands or tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars if it is all the money you got. And then if you lose it, you're out of business, because that's what he's saying. He's saying, I've been broke before. I've been absolutely broke before. Well, don't be absolutely broke ever. That's all I got for you. I hope this was a help. This was a lesson. And when I read it, when I watched him on the video, I didn't feel sorry for him. Got to be honest with you. I didn't. I thought this is a lesson you're going to learn. You're going to grow from it. You're going to hopefully get past this. You dug yourself into it. You should have got yourself somebody to maybe a mentor or some kind of a business counselor. That's what you should have done. You didn't do it. So, hey, this is what happens. All right, my friends, that's all I got for you. Have a great day, everybody.
Come on.